Today is 20th February of 2025, and as recording right now, I have been playing Genshin Impact for 1,500 straight, and this is my account. Hey everyone, so if you're new here or if you don't know who I am, hi, I'm CrafterBrother05, or you can just call me Crafted. I create fan-made lyric videos, music videos, and I also create trailers and all cool other stuff you can see on my channel. I also lead the big project called Doki Doki Hibernation, which is a DDLC mod that is inspired by Iris. And I also create stories, original stories, and other original projects in CrafterBrother05 Legacy. I create stories in the Legacy collection, which is a little branch, and also have podcasts on it as well. So if you're all interested, just check it out. But today we are only focusing on one thing and one thing only. So as you may know from looking all over my music videos playlist, you see that I predominantly do Genshin, and I usually link them to like a very popular rock song from the nerdcore community or just DA online space, so like Iris or DA Games or something like that. But I haven't actually talk about my actual account. I haven't really actually talked about my actual account that I actually played. And if you don't know, I have been playing this game for a very long time, specifically right now 1,500 days straight. So today I'm actually going to talk about my account right now, particularly since I thought it would be fun because 1,500 days playing Genshin straight, it's not something you see. I have been a Genshin player ever since 1.1, or the early release of 1.1, when Child Banner is still actually out. But we're going to talk about that in the future later. But for now, let's actually talk about the three different sections that I will divide in this video so you guys can skip or something like that. So the first section will be actually exploration and quest. I'll probably just smush this down together because Archon quest and exploration are counted as one. The other stuff that I did for the quest, the world quest and stuff like that, and overall the exploration and how I feel about each regions generally. So the second one will be characters that I pull and characters that I skip. So we'll go to the character selection, the character archives actually, and we'll talk about which characters that I pull, which characters that I regret pulling, which characters that I'm glad I pulled, and which characters that I did pull. We're also going to talk about 4-star, obviously it's not going to be all 5 stars, characters that I purposely pull and characters I have C6 and all of that. And that brings me to the third one, which is the characters builds. So yeah, this video will be in 3 different sections, and you guys can just see which one you guys like, or just stick around if you actually are interested in a Veterans Day account. So obviously this is where we start Genshin. This is, I believe, is on the Lake of Mondstadt. And I played this game, I think if we actually take a look at my Amber, I touched this game back then in 12th November of 2020, and that is where I start my Genshin account. And now we move on to Mondstadt. Now honestly, Mondstadt exploration for me, I did pretty alright. I got 79 here, I got 100 here, and 96. I don't really have much to say about Mondstadt because it's the very beginning of the region. I don't really pay attention to the Archon quest. I thought it was alright, but everything else I did in Mondstadt was just like a memory. It's just home for me. I don't really find Mondstadt to be interesting. Even in Dragonspine, I don't actually find Mondstadt exploration that interesting. Do I like Mondstadt in general? I think it's an alright region. There's nothing interesting. It's very bland, but it's not a great starting point of Genshin personally. I think personally Liyue is way better, but we're going to talk about Liyue later. I also don't find the characters in Mondstadt particularly interesting as well. We're going to talk about characters later that I like in Mondstadt, and which characters I like in Liyue and all stuff like that. I only found Venti and Albedo are the one that stood out, but everyone else is just eh. Yeah, I feel like Mondstadt is just an okay region for me in general. And now we actually move on to Liyue. So after finishing the Archon quest in Mondstadt, which I thought was fine, we moved to Liyue, and Liyue is actually incredibly interesting for me. They definitely put a lot more effort here on Liyue because obviously they're a Chinese company, like Koiver is a Chinese company, so that's why they actually put a lot more effort in Liyue. Now, do I think Liyue is great in terms of the Archon quest itself? I do really like Shinha's Archon Quest. I do really like the Chasm Archon Quest. Although I do think that the original Archon Quests were very weak and they're not very interesting at all. The iconic fight with Tartaglia and the Archonic fight also with Osial was great, but that's really all about it. The character that stood out the most for me in Liyue is actually Xiao. His gameplay especially is super fun. It's a great region to start off with. Unfortunately, they had to start with Mondstadt. For me, the exploration of Liyue is also pretty good. I did all well, like the Chasm got 70% here, the Sea of Clouds here, everything got above 70%, which personally, in my personal opinion, are a great place, are at least like very good. And if we take a look at the Chasm here, the underground mines, I got 78%. But unfortunately, the only thing that I don't like about Liyue is just I feel like the atmosphere itself is a little bit too similar to Mondstadt. It's way different, but it's also had some similarity. Oh, also, the very new Chenyu Vale also did pretty well as well. I do like Chenyu Vale a lot, actually. I prefer Chenyu Vale over like Liyue any day, but obviously because Chenyu Vale is a very new region, it's obviously understandable. So yeah, I like the exploration, the characters all are very interesting. And now we move on to Inazuma, and Inazuma is the third region that was released, and this was a very, very hyped region. The release of 2.0 trailers brought, like, no pun intended, thunderstorms into the Genshin community, because this is the first region that is actually like, available back then in it was the newest region that was available to early players. And personally, I think Inazuma was great up until 2.1. Now the Inazuma Archon quest, I do feel like is very great on the first and second one. Although, just like Twitter, yes, I hate saying this, I feel like the third Archon quest is very bad. I know this already been said a lot, but I don't. But overall, it's still a great one. It's still a great Archon quest, and we're gonna talk about the Sword quest later on. But overall, I do feel like the Archon quest in Inazuma was pretty bad. Overall, I feel like the Archon quest is great, and we got so many new iconic cutscenes. The second part was my favorite. The war. The overall feel of the madness of the Vision Hunt Decree was great. Although the third one does really weaken A's character by a lot. I am gonna be honest, A's one of my favorite characters in the game. And yeah, and that also brings me to the characters. Now the characters that actually, like, I don't really have a favorite character back then. Even Xiao is my favorite Liyue character right now, right? I don't really find like the characters I found is determinedly attached to it. I don't find the waifus to be great. I don't find the husbandos to be overly exaggerated. It's just really like normal, you know. I don't feel super attached to this game yet. Until this little girl with a big ass forehead and a yandere everywhere came, and she was life changing. I don't really like Ayaka at first because I thought she was pretty bland. However, after playing her story quest, that changed everything. It was fantastic. And about my exploration in Inazuma, I will divide this into two. The first part of Inazuma that came with 2.0 was amazing. It was one of the most fun I've had in exploration. And with that, I got Narukami Island on 91%, the Kanosuka, the Among Us Island on 92%, and the Yashiori Island on 100%. But then, after 2.1 came out, came two islands, Watatsumi Island and also Seirei Island, right? And yeah, I didn't like these. I didn't like these two at all. I did pretty okay with the Seirei Island. I didn't do really well with Watatsumi Island. I genuinely do not like this island. It's probably one of my least favorite sub-regions, I guess. But everything else that came before that is actually really great. So those two are like the only regions that I haven't collected the full Arctroculus, and Inazuma is definitely one of them. I haven't collected all in the Seirei Island, haven't collected all in Watatsumi Island, also haven't connected all in the Surumi Island. Surumi Island is definitely like, this came out in 2.3. Now, personally, I don't feel like Surumi Island's that interesting. The story itself was great though. The world quest in Surumi Island was great, but it wasn't, the exploration is definitely a vial. We got this remarkable chest that actually doesn't grant us primos and stuff. But yeah, I guess that's really it for Inazuma. I feel like the region itself was fine. It was interesting to see island hopping itself, like, and also using the Wave Rider is really cool. Overall, I feel like because the Archon quests, I have a very mixed feeling about Inazuma. The exploration on the first one was great, but the exploration on the second half wasn't really all that great. We also get to see Ayaka, which is again one of my favorite characters in the entire game. However, the freaking Archon quest was very questionable in terms of its writing decisions, I guess. And about my Enkanomiya, yeah, it's just this. I feel nothing towards Enkanomiya, although the settings and the mechanics were amazing, by the way. The settings, the mechanics, the entire prospect of Enkanomiya was very fun. And I was actually had a lot of fun collecting chests and stuff like that. So, yeah. Now, Sumeru is a very interesting region because I love everything about it except the exploration. The Sumeru cast, we're talking about the characters, are all very amazing. They're very intriguing. They have so much more personality. The Archon quest still right now remains probably one of my favorite Archon quests in the entire game. Everything about Sumeru is just very, very fresh. And oh boy, the music. I think Sumeru right now is probably my favorite music. And also with the new Dendro reaction that they actually added, it just brings so much cool new interactions and makes the game way more fun. Fortunately, I don't think that's true for exploration. If we look at the progress I have in Sumeru, you see 144% there, 48% there, 65, 64, 44% in Varnara, and oh boy, the desert, and I guess these two are fine. I don't really collect any of the Dendroculus. I guess that's probably why the exploration is very low. And also, single-handedly, this might be a hot take. Aranara world quest is probably my favorite world quest of all time. Yes, it takes 12 hours. Yes, it's tedious, but the experience of Aranara, talking with Aranara, was really fun. I haven't maxed out my Oculus because I didn't bother getting Oculus here. I wasn't really in the mood of exploration when I was in Sumeru because it was mountains upon mountains upon mountains on the jungle, and then in desert is just so boring. Desert is painful. It had so many layers. Like if you look at here, you have so many layers upon layers upon layers, and it just doesn't make it fun. Look at this. Is this fun for you that explored Sumeru? But genuinely, what is this? There are hidden teleporters everywhere. The world quest though, the world quest in Sumeru was great. The desert one, the world quest in the desert one was great. I do really like the jet quest, especially if you actually take a look at Mount Devaman here. There's a little secret region right here, and it was awesome. I love the world quest in Sumeru. It's so good. Like, it was almost a perfect region, but you gotta turn it down with the exploration, and that's what I don't really like about Sumeru. Fortunately though, it's still one of my favorite regions of all time. Everything that came to Sumeru was awesome. And now we zip into Fontaine, which is my favorite region of all time. Fontaine, for me, was the perfect region that what we absolutely must need. So if you don't know what Fontaine actually is, it's a region that's based on French, and oh my god, did they absolutely nail this one on everything. Exploration, quest, characters, freaking I don't know, music as well. Well, not as good as Sumeru. I do think Fontaine's music is freaking amazing. Fontaine right now is my favorite region, and I will never ever actually like complain about Fontaine ever again, because everything about Fontaine is just absolutely cinema. Now let's talk about my exploration in Fontaine. Yes, I maxed out my Statue of the Seven. I actually no, I didn't max it out yet because I actually haven't finished the Sea of Bygone Eras. If you look at here, I finished the first part of collecting the Oculus, but I haven't finished the second part, which I will absolutely need to do because I love this area. Exploration, I did really well. Even though it's not 100%, I got 86 here, 40, 94 here, 83 there, 90 there. You know how much I love Fontaine. Like the underwater doesn't feel bad. It just feels great. It feels awesome. Like it feels great. Like the music also encompasses it. Like the combat also doesn't feel bad. Like the overall just feels flowy, feels great. Collecting the Oculus, opening chests, doing puzzles in it. It's all just so good because the region is so well packed and so like it's small, but it's so well packed with so many different things. The Archon quest is probably overall the best Archon quest right now. We'll talk about Natlan later, but overall still the best Archon quest because Act 1, Act 2, we ignore Act 3, Act 4, and Act 5 were all very consistently good, especially Act 5. Jesus Christ, Act 5. This is a perfect region for me, and I don't think that there's going to be anything that came close to Fontaine. Probably Snezhnaya, but hey, I could be wrong. And now we move on to the very new region, Natlan. So what do I think about Natlan so far? The 5.x version hasn't been finished. I think Natlan is really good. If I actually had to rank, I think Natlan right now is actually number 2. It's nowhere near as good as Fontaine, but my god, the exploration is very fun. It feels a little more tedious than Fontaine because Fontaine is so easy, but the challenges that I faced during Natlan has been awesome so far. Everything I've done in Natlan feels very holy. I don't really know how to say it, but it feels very refreshing than Fontaine because Fontaine is just one-dimensional exploration. Even though it's great, it's still very one-dimensional. But in here, you get like Taurus that you can use it to fly, to climb walls, to dive underground or something like that. It's great. It's freaking great. And the Archon quest, it's probably like overall worse than Fontaine, but not by a lot. Like Act 4 and Act 5 were single-handedly the single best Archon quest in the game. Act 4 specifically is amazing. Like showing Genshin players the true horrors of war has been like one of my favorite things that they've done. And also like I don't know, the overall feel of the Act 5 Natlan Archon quest, like it feels like your journey has been worth it, you know. Of what you've done in Natlan has been very much worth it. I couldn't have made this far without the efforts that I did with Natlan. It feels like that, even though it really doesn't. So for exploration in Natlan, I did pretty well. 77 here, 82. I collected all of the Oculuses. 79 here, 72, 73, 66. And Oshka Natlan has been a very oh, it's such a good freaking sub-region, man. Also, I should probably mention the world quest in Natlan has also been great. Yeah, so that's been like all of the regions that I've done and what my overall thoughts in them. So to give a little summary, I guess Mondstadt was very bland, but it was alright. I guess that's probably my least favorite one, I guess. Liyuan was great. It definitely reached its age, but overall, I think it's still very well done. Inazuma was great at first, but it was kind of at the second. Sumeru was great in everything but except the exploration. Fontaine was perfect and Natlan was near perfect. So yeah, I guess that's that. And now we shall move on to the next part, characters that I pull and the characters I skip. Now let's start with the characters that I skip. Obviously, like, you know, the characters that I skip for personal reasons. And since there are like many characters in here, I think I'm going to, and especially like I skip like what, this is like 12 characters that I skip in Genshin. I'll probably keep it brief so that I actually like, you know, don't really explain to you. Before this, I want to give a little disclaimer. I am a whale. I spend a lot of money in this game. I don't have C6s, I don't have R5s, I do have signature weapons, I do have a lot of characters. Like if you see, I have like 90% of the Genshin cast right now. I am a whale. I spent probably close to $1,000 in this game. Now, is that worth it? Personally, no. Like I don't really want to spend real money in this game ever again, but it is what it is, you know. I do regret some characters, I do not regret some characters. And I don't even actually regret spending money on set characters. On some set characters. Not on every character, but on some set characters. So, but even with $1,000 can't get you every single characters in the game right now, like what you see. Why? Because I have my own personal reasons as to why. Obviously some are probably like very obvious, but some are probably not even obvious. Like, why do I not have Raitsui? Why do I not have Lini? These are pretty good characters, right? Why not have Baiju? Kinich is great for exploration. Now I will give all that reasonings right now. I just want to point out that I actually spend money in this game, and I'm not afraid to admit that because a lot of you guys probably do too. So let's get started with Klee. Now Klee I do love as a character, but as a kid on her own, I absolutely dislike. Although I actually plan to pull on her, I feel like, because her clunkiness feels very genuine. It feels like Hoyo designed it to actually make her feel clunky and annoying to play, and that's kind of why I kind of want to pull her in the future. But overall, if it's Klee, I don't think I'll ever pull on it. Albedo, it's just I don't like him enough for him to pull, and his kit is just pretty much towards Chiori, and now that I have Chiori, I have no reason for me to pull for Albedo. I do like his character again. Unfortunately, I do not like Albedo at all. In terms of his kit, obviously. Now Yoimiya I absolutely love, and I want Yoimiya rerun so bad right now. Jesus Christ, I love this character so much. Yes, her damage may not be as big as what I have right now. I do have both Mawika and Arlecchino, but Yoimiya is so fun to use, and I absolutely love her. Like as a character and as a kit design on itself is really great. Ito is pretty simple. I just don't really want to play Mono Geo. I feel like it's repetitive. I don't want to build my Goro, and I don't really want to waste so much on Ito. I feel like it's genuinely like a really annoying playstyle. Baiju I don't really pull because I don't really like Baiju. Thanks to like Shilonen, I think his value has been really significantly decreased. Because usually you want Baiju with Furina, right? But right now you just slap on Shilonen and your Dendro teams with Furina has been like elevated. Actually no, you don't really play like Dendro teams with Shilonen, but it's still good, right? You don't really need like Baiju at all. And I actually do skip him for another character in the Chronicled Wish in the previous version. Linny I just don't really like charge attacking playstyle, although I might actually pull on him. The reason why I actually want to pull on him is because recently I've discovered that I have Citlali, and Lini is apparently pretty good with Citlali. His power application is pretty fast though for Citlali, so I might as well just go for Furina. But again, charge attacking playstyle are just so annoying, and he really wants a shield. So yeah, I don't really feel like Winnie is actually a great character for me to pull. Now in this version, Wriothesley has a rerun, and I actually want to pull on Wriothesley. Simple reason, I just like his playstyle, and I do think like I do need like a dedicated forward melt. Is it forward melt or is it not? I just need a cryo character that can melt. Sichuin is pretty self-explanatory. She's a bad character. Emily, I don't really like burning in general, and since I don't have Emily, that also proves me that I don't like Kinich. Now, I'm wrong, completely wrong actually. After testing him out in trial combat, I actually really like Kinich. And also I've heard on leaks that Yansan with Kinich is actually pretty good. So like I'm still not sure if I want Kinich or not in his rerun, but it's something that I will definitely consider. Chaska, I do like Chaska as a character. I think her character is really cool. Unfortunately, I'm not really sure if I actually want to pull on her. She's just very perplexing to use. Her teams are also like not great. I don't really have a great weapon option on her. I also don't really want to build Oron, even though Oron's a pretty freaking good character. Yeah, I mean, she's also another character that's like Kirich. I will definitely consider if I actually want to pull. I also already have pretty good animal DPSs as well. Now, I absolutely love Mizuki. Her story quest is among one of my favorites in Inazuma, and I really like her character. She's super freaking cute. Unfortunately, since she is a standard banner, I will definitely not, because eventually I'll definitely lose to Mizuki in the future. So yeah, that's all my 5-star characters that I skip. Really self-explanatory, as some of them are pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, most of them are like really they're not into me. Obviously, like somebody like Sichuan is obviously very skippable, but most of these are like the characters that doesn't really stand out to me in terms of gameplay and meta-wise. I guess now we should probably move on to characters that 4-star characters that I have right now. Now, I do have every single 4-star character in the game. I will talk about them later in the build section whether I actually build them or not, but spoiler warning, most of them are probably not built. So yeah, So Amber, Kaya, Lisa, pretty self-explanatory. We got them the first day. I got Barbara pretty early later. I got Razor really late. I got Channeling after beating the Abyss. I think Beidou I got on the Wish, and I think Beidou is actually my first C6 4-star characters because I got her so much. Unfortunately, I don't really build her. Xingqiu, back then I got, I think, from an event, I believe, or an event, or actually a poll. I'm not sure. Ningguang I got pretty early as well. I think it's the same day as Razor, I believe, for some reason. Unfortunately, I don't really use these two. Official I got pretty early. I think it's one of the most earlier 4-star characters. Bennett got pretty late, unfortunately, but I think but after realizing his true power, thank God I built him. We got Noel pretty late here, and now every single character going forward is actually pretty late. They're not. I don't think none of them are in 2020. Changyun, Sucrose, Diona, Xinyan, like these characters are like pretty minuscule to me. I don't really build them. I do build Diona to level 70, I believe. I also don't really build my Sucrose because I don't really like Sucrose's playstyle, and Kazu is just basically better than what she does. Oh no, that's false, but Sucrose is harder to play. Rosaria I got back then early in 1.4, I believe, when I was trying to pull in Venti's better. Yanfei I got early on. I don't know how I got Yanfei, I don't remember. Sayo I got pretty early when I was actually trying to pull on Aika's banner. I got Sara the same day I got Raiden. I got Toma back then. I don't know how I got Toma, but I think it was really late. Yeah, I got Toma like a year later. However, what he does isn't really that great, so I don't really pull for. So I don't really play Toma. Now Goro, I got also quite late here. I don't think it's the same day as 2.3, but it's definitely very late. I got Yunjin also pretty late. I got Shinobu also quite late. Like, it's not even, it's definitely in the middle of 2022. Wait, actually, is it that late? Actually, no, I think I got Shinobu pretty early. It's just that I don't really have her C6 right now. Hazel, I also don't really have. I just got him on the random batter, I guess. Kale, I got on the free event back then. But I do have her right now at C6, I believe. Also, I will probably like talk about the C4-star character constellations later on as well. Dory, I'm not very proud to have, but she also is C6. I don't believe my Candace is C6. Actually, I don't think my Candace is C6 at all. But I got her quite late, I believe. Layla, I got on the event, I believe. I'm not sure if I got Layla on the event, but I don't really build her. I don't think I ever had C6. Farazan I did build after I got her at C6. It was a really monumental task, but thank goodness I actually got her. Yaya, I got her on the event, on the Leeway event, and it was great. I did actually build Yaya specifically only for Milo Bloom and Kaching Aggravate, but that's about it. Mika I got pretty early on, but I don't think I built him. I don't even have any constellations on him. I think my Kave is not even Constellation 6, but I got him pretty early on the... I believe you got him in 3.6 for free, right? Actually, no, that's a weapon, but I got Kave pretty early here. Kirara I got pretty early. Unfortunately, I don't really play her. I don't think I actually even have her at C6 even. Now Ladette I got really early, obviously because it's a free, because she's free, and I actually do have her at C6, and I did actually build her. I don't really play her that often, but I do enjoy my time of playing her. I got FANMADE pretty early. Unfortunately, I don't really like him to build him. My child isn't even at C6, and I did get her early, but she was whatever. Now Chevrolet I actually don't really build, unfortunately, even though she is an incredibly good character. I don't have her at C6. While she is good, not even before C6, I do really want her to actually have a C6. I do really actually want her to be C6 first. Now Gaming I did pretty early after on the 4.4 Lantern Light. He is an awesome character, although the difference between Gaming C6 and like what a freaking C3 Gaming right now I have, it's not even that good. So yeah. Setos, I think I did really early on Setos actually, but unfortunately I don't think I built him as well. Kachina I got immediately right after doing the Archon quest. Oran I got also during the Archon quest. And yeah, I guess, and then Landian I picked on the Lantern, right? Now for the 5 stars, let's actually talk about each 5 star. and which one I pull. So we're going to skip the standard one. We're going to talk about them later, but we're going to talk about the character, the one that I actually have. Now Venti, I pulled because back then Venti was broken. I also really liked his character back then. His character is very fun. He was really like he was very fun. Yeah, that's probably the reason why I pull on him. I actually do have a little bit of screenshot right now on my Discord server showing that I win Venti and everyone's happy, and that was a historic moment for me. It's just I'm really happy I got Venti. Unfortunately, right now I don't really use him, although this Abyss is actually very favorite on Venti. Now Child I pull because I just like his playstyle, and I don't know, I just like riptiding everything. I do right now actually have him at C1. I think he is the only character I have limited 5-star character I have with constellations on. We're also going to talk about 5-star constellations, standard 5-star constellations, but he is the only character I have right now with a constellation on the limited character. Now Zhongli is my very first 5-star. I got him on 1.1, the same day when his banner was released, and I still remember using the non-buff Zhongli when he uses his E, and he actually doesn't really like, you know, where he doesn't summon the pillars. Very fond memories, but after 1.3 he got massively buffed. He's still a decent character right now, but back then, if it wasn't even at this buff, he's probably like a terrible character. I have very complicated relationship with Ganyu, so back then I actually did use her. However, I didn't really use her the right way. I use her because I like pairing her with Xiao, but after that point I just don't really know how to use her properly. I didn't even know that her charge attack playstyle actually exists, so I kind of just use her for burst support, but after building her properly I realized her true potential, but it was kind of too late because back then the meta shifted to Ayaka, which is, yeah, that's that. Oh, by the way, just for like little purposes, I got Child really late. I got Zhongli on his first banner. I don't know which Child rerun this is. I think it was his third or second rerun I got Child, and I got him pretty early. It was like one pity or something like that. I got Zhongli on his first banner, I got Ganyu on her first banner, I got Xiao on her first banner, I got Xiao on his first banner, and this, I don't have any, by the way, I don't really regret any of the set characters before, and I also don't really regret Xiao because Xiao is just really fun, and I still even use him to this day. He's just that good. With the addition of Shan Yun, Furina, freaking Faruzan made him so much better, and it is freaking amazing. He's definitely a very strong character if you have all of the right materials, but yeah, overall I really like Xiao. I got Hu Tao pretty late. I think it was back then on the 4.1 better when he was rerunning on Nouvellette. I actually got Hu Tao first before I got Nouvellette. So like Hu Tao I actually got really late because I do like her character, I do like her playstyle. Even though my Hu Tao is C0, I still really like her. Eula I got back then on her first rerun. This is a really rare character. Not a lot of people have Eula because of, you know, the dumbass rerun banner from 2.3 all the way to 3.8. Back then she was actually still pretty good, but unfortunately, yeah, some stuff happened and Eula isn't even that great anymore. I had a really painful time using Eula back then. But thank God now I actually bench her. I also don't really regret, however, I don't really regret Eula though. Obviously, if I could like refund my Primo Gems, I would, but I don't really regret her because I feel like her character was very interesting back then and she's the only physical character that actually is pretty good. Kazuo, for obvious reasons, I pulled because he was super meta and he's just massive quality of life. Also, I think I pulled Kazuo on the 3.7 banner back then, so I got Kazuo super late. Ayaka I put on her first rerun banner. Jesus Christ, I never regret a single thing about Ayaka. Unfortunately, right now she's not really that good, but I still have fun playing her overall in the overworld. I love playing her in the overworld. Aloy actually got really early because I do have a PS4. Unfortunately, my PS4 kind of broke out, so I get myself a PS5. Actually, that's also false. I don't have a PS5. I just bought the controller just for the sake of playing Genshin. But yeah, I actually got Aloy. I actually built Aloy as well. Unfortunately, yeah, she disappointed me in a lot of ways. That's also the same day where I got Raiden. I got her on her first banner. It was great. Everything dies so easily back then because Raiden and Ayaka were like the true meta, and she's still really good even right now. And now we move on to Kokomi. I actually got Kokomi on the Sumeru rerun on the 3.0 where Kokomi was actually really good. And even though she's still a solid character right now, I don't think she's been that used. Shenhe, even though it's a very old character, is my very recent 5-star. I got her on the Chronicled Wish back then. She isn't really life-changing. She definitely helps Ayaka, but I don't really feel like she's done anything interesting. Though, after this I'm pulling on Risley, I'm saving for Skirk, so maybe she's good on those teams, so hopefully she's great. Now, I do have a lot of 5-stars, right? I do have Walani, I've Citlali, even the most recent Mawika. Out of all these characters, I didn't regret a single one of them. Except for Yaimiko. I think Yaimiko is probably one of my least favorite 5-star characters in the game. Not only that she's basically a worse official, her kit sucks, like her playstyle is awful, and I don't really like her as a character. If I could refund my Primo Gems immediately, I would. This character is ass. I will never ever play Yaimiko over official ever again. And even in Aggravate, I don't even use Yaimiko. I just use Fischl because Fischl's amazing. That's why I like though. He's a really fun character back then. Even right now I still use him from time to time on his Hyper Bloom variants, or perhaps his Vape variants, or I guess even Hyper Carry variants, but he's a fun character. I do like his shrink, his animations is great. And that also brings me on to Yolan. Also, I got Yaimiko on her first banner, and I did Ayato on his first banner. I got Yolan back then really late on 4.0. Yeah, I didn't really regret Yolan. I really purposely pull on Yolan because of meta reasons. I don't really like her gameplay or her personality. Gameplay, she's basically just a worse Senchu, and then personality, she's just a Dami Mommy, whatever. I only really pull on her because I just like meta and I needed a second Senchu. Tainari, I didn't pull on his first banner, but I do get him pretty early in 3.2 when I was pulling on Nahida's. When I was pulling on Nahida's banner. He's fine. I don't think he's that great, although he's fine. Now, Sino is a surprising one because I know a lot of people don't really have Sino. However, I really like Sino in terms of personality and gameplay. I did get him on the 3.5 banner and have no regret ever since. I just really like Sino. Also, his voice actor is probably one of my favorite voice actors in the entire voice acting industry. Nilo is my favorite character in Sumeru, and I pulled her on her first banner, and I have no regret ever since. She's freaking amazing, man. She's so good. And I do even actually get her skin right now, as you guys can see. Nahida, I pulled her on her first banner. Most of the Archons that I pulled actually is on their first banner. So like if you look at Venti, he's the only one I pulled on his rerun. But Nahida I got pretty early, and it's a great pull because I just like the character. It's very meta and very strong. Wander, I actually narrowly got him on his first banner, because back then there was like 16 hours left and I finally got Wander. And he's great, by the way. He's a great character. I do really like Wander. Even though he isn't really that great in meta, I do like his playstyle a lot, and he is single-handedly been the one who helped me explore Fontaine and the 4.8 region, and also the early parts of 5.0 before I got Maulani. Alhaitham, I pulled, and I wasn't really having much to expect from him. I just really like his playstyle. It was very fun, but I didn't realize how strong this guy really is. So yeah, really great character, really good Dendro DPS right now. Probably still one of the best right now. But I don't think that is even true. Now Dea I got actually like really late. It was like back then she was like 3.5, right? 3.5 character. But then I really only got her on the anniversary. I don't really build her though. I just want to have a collection of standard 5-stars. I actually did build her, tried one with Maulani, but I realized that Shilonen probably is better. So, no, I mean Shilonen Channeling, not Shilonen Dea, but like Shilonen Channeling is just way better. Nuvalet I pulled on his early banners because, like, you know what? Back then I did spend a lot in Genshin trying to get both Homa and Hu Tao. But then I realized, wait, I do have some extra primos, and I pulled on Nuvalet and I got him like really early on. If I could refund Homa and Hu Tao for a single Nuvalet, I probably would have done it, like by a mile. because this character is like broken beyond repair. And it still is right now. Furina, I did actually pull on her first battle. Like I said, all cons I pull in the first battle, and I think Furina is my favorite character in Fontaine, just because, you know, she's adorable like that, and also like she is a great support. Still one of the best characters in the game, meta-wise as well. Now Navia, I actually pulled on her first run back then in 4.8 because I actually tried to pull on Aika's weapon, but I got 2 of Navia's weapon, and yeah, that's just really sad. So I did actually get her, and I think besides Kazuha, she's like the most fun character I've had. Shenyun, I did pull her first banner. That helps my Hu Tao Xiao. I don't really have much to expect on Shenyun. I just like her character a lot. I think besides Xiao, she's one of my favorite characters in Liyue. I did get Chiori back then on 5.2 better. I was actually heavily debating on whether to actually get Chiori or not. But then, because I just really like her character a lot, and she definitely helps Navia battering and stuff like that, I just decided to get her, and I don't really have regrets though. Like, the only character I regret is really only Yaimiko. So like Chiori, I actually don't really have any regrets getting her. And we move on to Arlecchino. I got Arlecchino on her first banner, and Jesus Christ, this woman is ridiculous. No, after seeing her damage, I immediately changed my Homa from Hu Tao to Arlecchino immediately. And also, we're gonna talk about the weapons I pull after this. So yeah, Cloran I got as well as her signature on the very same day. I think I do have some spare, what's it called again? Primos, and I pulled on Cloran. And yeah, she's ridiculously fun. Jesus, she's great. I do like her character a lot. And finally, after that, I don't really have a lot of primos to spend, so I spent it on Moalani and her signature, and she's great. She's great. I had a lot of fun with her, and she's still probably like the best forward fade character in the game. She's still a really strong character up till now. Not as strong as Nouvelette, but still very strong. Shallonan I pull because of meta reasons. Same with Kazuha, I have no regrets. I actually do like her character a lot though. So unlike Kazuha or Yolan, where I pull for them specifically for meta, I don't really like their character that much, but I do really like Shallonan's character. Her demo, also her character trailer / demo, is also very good. We didn't expect to actually have a full-ass music video on it. Now both Citlali and Mawika, I did get lucky. I did get really lucky with both Mawika, although Citlali I did have to do grind, so after I lose my 50-50 on Mawika, I win my 50-50 on Citlali. I don't really regret any of these two characters. Mawika obviously I put because an Archon, and also she's very strong. It took me like a little while for me to actually get Citlali because I need to grind a lot. And yeah, Citlali is great. She definitely helps my Arlecchino, and she definitely helps a lot with my Mawika, especially dealing over 1 million damage. Although we can talk about Mawika and the builds later after this. Both Citlali and Mawika are very good. I do like Mawika a lot. I still haven't had her friendship at level 10. But she is probably one of my favorite characters to play right now. And so for the weapons, as you guys can see, I don't really have a lot of good weapons. Even though I spend like $1,000 in this game, I don't really get a lot of like 5-star weapons or something like that, right? So I did get Skyward Harp on losing on standard batters. I did pull on Moalani signature. I did pull on Nouvelette's signature just because I got really lucky, I guess. I did pull on Yaimiko's signature, although as you guys can see, I don't really put it on Yaimiko. I put it on Nahida, the superior character. I did get Skyward Atlas. Unfortunate, this one probably will be on Risley. I got Skyward Sword pretty late back then when I was actually on the Zhongli batter, so this is one of the oldest weapon in the game, and I put it on Raiden. I did get Staff of Homa. I did put it on Hu Tao, but after knowing Arlecchino is really strong, I put it on Arlecchino instead. And I did get 2 Navia signature. One of them I put it on Navia, and one of them I put it on Mawika. I get the Unforged because I lose on Mistsplitter, and I get Absolution really lucky. I also got Key of Kashinishu very lucky. Now Mistsplitter is the most problematic weapon that I had. I lose like 4 or 5 50-50s or 75 on Mistsplitter. So I lose them on Verdict twice, I believe, and I lose them on I think I lose them on Wolf's Gravestone once. I guess I did lose it on the Unforged once. So I lost 4 75-25 on Mistsplitter, and it was painful. I did spend a lot to get Mistsplitter, however, it's very much worth it because Ayaka is Ayaka. I did have a spare Skyward Blade that I don't really use. I did get Aquila Vavonia, very lucky. I have a second Skyward Harp, although it's not level 90 yet. And I do have Wolf's Gravestone and another Skyward Blade. And I have these spare 5-star weapons that I don't really pull, I don't really build, because Vortex ass, I don't really think there's anyone that needs Skyward Spine, and I don't think anyone needs Skyward Blade either. So I have 3 Skyward Blades right now. And for Battle Pass, I did pull on Viridescent Hunt, Ballad of the Fjords, I also pull on Deathmatch, I pull on Skyward Spine. These are just really good weapons for the respective players. Not the perspective, but for what they actually do. You know, I did fish for the catch. I do have a lot of FAF that I built. I do have some Sacrificial Fragment. I do have 1 R5 Rust. I have 1 Sacrificial Sword right here. I do have 2 Black Swords, I believe. One that is level 90 and one that is level 80. And some of the event weapons I definitely level, like, you know, Cinnabar Spindle for Chiori, Old Sworn Eye for Shenyun. I also do have like Festering Desire for Furina. So yeah, Festering Desire is the first event weapon, and this is proof that I played this game for 1,500 days. And yeah, and these all are the spare weapons I have. I do have some extra Witsit here, some on-leveled event weapons, and some, like for example this one right here, this one. Another event weapon, this one here is just a worse FAF for Shilonan. I do have some 3-star weapons that I leveled up, for example Slingshot for Tainari, Turtle for Sitlali, White Tassel for Sino, and another Turtle for Lanyan. I haven't built Lanyan yet, but one day I definitely will. Also like Black Tassel for Zhongli, and Random Harbinger of Dawn. Back then it was on Kaching, but I just replaced her with Lancer instead. Alright, so that is all of the characters I pull and the weapons that I pull, and right now I will go to the last section of the video, which is the characters builds. Okay, so let's actually start with the Traveler. The Traveler I actually just don't really build. I put his right now canonical weapon because he's using the prototype Rancor in his, you know, in his trailers and stuff like that in Atlan. I did not put really random stuff. This is the Electro Traveler, by the way. I did use the Electro Traveler because I actually am doing the Inazuma World Quest right now. And yeah, so I'd say the Traveler is not really built. So let's actually start with some of my favorite characters first, and then we move on from there. So let's start with Ayaka. So Ayaka is my favorite character in Genshin, like by a mile. She is unfortunately not very well built, I'd say. She is very good, but she is not a character that I'd say like amazing or something like that. So yeah, 2.3k attack is pretty good usually. I am running her on Whisperer. This is her best in slot weapon. It took me a while to actually get this. It doesn't really fit her aesthetic very well though, but it is her best in slot. I am running her on the 4-piece Bliss. She is Constellation 0, and my talents are Triple Crown. She is the only Triple Crown character I have in this account. Every single talent here very much matters. Even though her skill is probably not very important, in my personal opinion, like I would say, like you really want only to crown her burst and her normals, but because of personal reasons, I am crowning her. So my artifacts here are very mid, I'd say. This one's good because he has some ER. The crit rate is a little too excessive. I wish I do have a little more crit damage, so I probably will want to actually like have more crit damage. My feather is great. I wish I do have some ER, however, it's a great 36 crit value right now. My Sans is very sad. I do wish I have some ER, some extra crit damage, but this is the only one that I actually have. My Goblet's great, I'd say. I do wish it has some crit rate, but you can't really go wrong. You have like 9.7k attack, energy recharge, and you have some crit damage and some attack. Now I am using an attack circlet, and my attack circlet is really good. The attack circlet I'm using right now has some crit damage, some crit rate, and it's obviously attack circlet. The reason here is because if you have too much crit damage on your Ayaka and not enough attack, because she doesn't have, you know, external attack that you actually get. Usually it's just damage bonus from Kazu and Shenhe. She doesn't use Bennett, right? So that's why I am opting for an attack circlet, and it's obviously way better than like a normal crit damage. So yeah, she's a pretty mid character. It's not my best built character, but it is what it is. And so overall Ayaka stats is 36% with 239 crit damage and some ER. This is already pretty good ER because my Shenhe is using FAF and my Kazu is using FAF. And occasionally I'm running her with Xingqiu. I don't really use Kokomi that often because freeze is just a very comfortable reaction. Now we move on to Nilo. Actually, no, let's move on to Freya. Freya is my second favorite character in the game. Yes, I do actually have a list of top 3 characters right now. She is using the Festering Desire, in my personal opinion, her true best in slot. I do think that Splendor is not really her best in slot because it doesn't offer ER. Yes, it does offer a lot, and I mean a lot of, you know, damage bonus and crit damage, but she's always going to be a burst support first, then off-field DPS second. So she's always going to be a support first before off-field. But this gives you both of that, so it gives ER and also gives elemental skill damage. You could go for FAF, but obviously Festering Desire is the best. I am opting for a 4-piece Golden Troop. I think all of the pieces are fine. They have some crit rate, some HP, some energy recharge. This one is pretty good as well. It has some crit range, some crit damage, some EM for vaping, I guess. This is great. This is very recent. I got this super recently. It has some crit damage, crit rate, a little bit of crit rate, a little bit of flat HP, I guess. Her feather is probably the best piece right now. Just overall, just great. Unfortunately, it does roll into attack, but doesn't really roll into it. Just goes into the double crit and some ER, and a pretty mid flower. My talents is 2 10 10. The reason is because her normal does nothing, so I don't really actually triple crown it. And this is my Farina stats. My Farina stats is some crit rate. Now this may look low, but remember that Festering Desire gave you like what, 12%? So it's already 80% with some crit damage and enough burst for pretty much. I do wish it has a little more energy recharge, although it is enough for a solo Hydro Farina, which where I usually use her. Now we move on Nilo. Now Nilo, I actually have 2 builds. I have main DPS Nilo, where I actually use her on her skill normal attacks, and the one I'm currently using is a Bloom basic Nilo. I do have her signature, Kiev Kashnishut, and I am running her on 2-piece for Kasha and Tenacity with some questionably good pieces. Like this one has some crit rate, which is ridiculous. This one has some crit rate. This one is ridiculous for some reason. It has some crit damage, some crit rate. And I do get pretty good in here. I got some crit rate and a little bit of HP right now. Some ER, attack doesn't really matter. And I got some like HP in here, some crit rate, crit damage. So yeah, my Neil is really good. And the Hydro Resonance, she should already cap out on her passive. I do crown her both her skill and her ult, because I do actually am using her pretty frequently on a Vape Nilu, because Vape Nilu is really fun. And yeah, she's obviously Constellation 0 as every limited 5-star character, but I'll show it anyways. Overall stats have 50% crit rate, which is ridiculous. A little bit ER, but you don't really need ER, but I do have a ton of HP on Nilu. I can probably show that Nilu build right now on Barbara, and this is my Nilu build that I have, so I saved it on Barbara. So yeah, pretty good feather. Actually really mid a flower. I don't actually change my sands. I don't change my sands, but I do change the really good Hydro damage goblet, and I do have a crit rate circlet, but a little bit crit damage. So this is overall my stats on my Nilo. It's more or less a little bit more because I do have a better sands, a little bit more ER as well on her. But yeah, this is my my Nilo DPS. And now we move on to from left to right, starting from Geo and all the way to my build characters. Alright, so Shilonen, obviously a little bit of defense, not much attack. I am running her on FAF. I don't have her signature because FAF is just better. I do have her on Scroll of Cinder City. I don't really have her on Archaic, and usually I do run her with Citlali, which Citlali actually does have Cinder City, but I do have still on Cinder City because I just don't want to change artifacts, you know. So I'm trying to find like more crit rate for FAF and also more crit rate for also not crit rate, a crit rate for FAF and energy recharge. I do have her on crit rate here and a little bit of ER. I don't have her on defense because she already heals so much. This is energy recharge. I unfortunately rolled it into HP a lot. This is defense for healing, and it's just substats. And I do have a healing bonus for extra healing. She's obviously Constellation 0, and I do crown her skill. Available stats, pretty much enough energy recharge for you to burst off cooldown, and a lot of healing, a little bit of healing bonus, and enough enough crit rate to fav for trigger. In terms of crit value, I think my Navia is the best built character I have. I do run her on Verdict. I think my Navia is like top 2% right now on Akasha, I don't know. And I do actually like before even her rerun, I do actually like farm a lot of artifacts on her. So obviously she's using the nighttime set. This is pretty good, has a little bit of crit rate. The stat doesn't really like have anything, but usually you want crit rate anyway, so this is pretty good. This is pretty freaking good as attack crit rate. The element of mastery is wasted, but come on, you got 13 crit rate and 13 crit damage. That's pretty good. The Sands is probably my worst piece here. Unfortunately, it does have a little bit of crit damage and a little bit of crit rate. I do want to improve this, but my Navia is already really good. This is ridiculous. This is probably the best piece I have on my Navia. I think, I'm not sure, the Feather and Flower are both very similar, but it's 10 crit rate, have 22% crit damage and some attack. Around here, you have 26% crit damage and some crit rate. So my Navia is ridiculous. She's C0, and I do crown her skill, although don't really crown both of these because I don't really like her enough. Although her her stat look crazy. Unfortunately, I don't have ER. Navia's burst is very important. That's why I usually run her on Chiori, so that her ER is alleviated a little bit. So yeah, that's my Navia. Now my Zhongli is all over the place. I do run him on level 1 Fav because you don't really need base attack, and you don't really freaking and you basically just don't really need his burst. But like the thing here, I built my Zhongli on burst support. So if you see like these artifact stats and the one I'm using right now, I'm using 2-piece noblesse. So my Zhongli build, I did use him, but he is considered as not built because I don't really have a great... I don't even use tenacity on my Zhongli because tenacity is paint farm. And Zhongli's utility, you don't really even need artifacts as long as you have a triple HP on him. And I don't even put triple HP. I put like crit geo and like HP on him. But like he's still functional enough. His shield is so strong already that I do crown his burst for fun and obviously crown his skill. But like I just built him for fun. His stat is ass, but you know, all that matters is his HP. Now Wander, I did have. I think right now my Wander is like top 4%, I believe. I do have him on Witset. Back then I did try Scoured Atlas, but Witset's just basically better in every scenario. I do have Desert Chronicle Pavilion. I actually got this pretty early. It's like what, 10 days I actually got pretty good. So this one's ass. It did get a lot of ER, but I got a really good Goblet. I got a really good Sands. I did get a pretty good Feather. Unfortunately, it's not double crit. And I got a pretty good Flower. He's Constellation 0 and he is double crown because I do like this character a lot. And it's my overall stats. Pretty good with way too much ER, but it is what it is. My Kazuha is okay. He is running on Fav right now because that's obviously his Western slot. I don't take Freedom Sword as his Western slot. And then we have 4-piece Iridescent, obviously. I do have a pretty good ER and a little bit of EM here, some crit rate. Also have some ER, some EM, so like Makazu is actually pretty good. So like he has some crit rate here, some ER. This is sad, this is the worst piece, but you know, and I do have like a godly circle here for him. He's Constellation 0, he's double crown. I did actually like increase his normals because the plunge from his skill actually scales off his normals, and that's why. There's a little bit of damage, and this is my overall stat. Enough crit rate for 5 to trigger most of the time, and some ER as well for his burst. Now my Xiao is interesting. I decided to actually strongbox for million for once. I do have like 200 artifacts I'm sparing around, and I got all these artifacts in day 1. Genuinely not kidding, I got every single one of these artifacts in one single day. Now I am running him on deathmatch, although sometimes I am changing him to Homa. Sometimes even freaking Scoured Spine because of the high base attack, but deathmatch already gives you like so many attack, and attack is already increased by 24%, so you already get like pretty good attack in here, despite the low base attack. Now I got every single one here except for the Goblet in one single day. So you look at this, I got a 14 crit rate, 4.5 energy recharge, and 8% attack in this ridiculously good circle, in a crit damage circle. This is probably my best piece right now. I got this on long ago actually. It's not that great, but it's arguably my worst piece. Actually, no, that's false. My Sans is my worst piece, but it's still okay. It has crit damage, has some energy recharge. This thing is insane. I got 30 crit damage, some attack, and some crit rate, and my flower is also equally as good. I do have some random one here, but this one's already pretty good. I don't really need crit rate for Xiao because I'm already using Shan Yun. So yeah, crit energy recharge, some crit damage here, and some attack. He's Constellation 0 as well, and he's double crown. I don't crown this one, although it is as important as Ayaka's skill right here. He's not. I don't like him enough to point where I actually want to triple crown him. So and these are all my stats. I got every single one of his artifacts in day 1. Don't tell Zayax about this. I did build my Eula, however, my Eula is like really. Eula is just overall just bad character. I did put her on Unforged. I don't know why. I just don't change her weapon. And I do run her on 2-piece 2-piece. It's an okay goblet. This one's pretty good circlet. It's a pretty bad sands. Ridiculous feather. This is probably the highest crit rate I have on a feather, and it's on my Eula. And have a great flower. T0 and a crown burst. And yeah, this is my overall stats. Really good Eula. Unfortunately, I don't really play Eula. And here's my Ganyu. I do have 2 builds on Ganyu. I don't remember which one the other one was. I think it was Burst Support. But this Ganyu is a Melt Ganyu. She's using Scarlet Harp. And she's using 4P Golden Troop and Glab. And this is her stats. I got pretty good. This is not her stats, this is her artifacts, sorry. And this is her feather, it's pretty good. Ridiculously good flower. Got some crit rate, some crit damage. It's probably like 40 crit value, I believe. Almost 50. This is one of the best I have. Pretty good Sans, I guess. This one's pretty good Goblet because you get crit damage from EM as well because of Melt. And we got a substantial Circlet. She's obviously C0, and I have her at I have her normal crown. And these are stats. You gain 20% extra from her passive, and these are crit damage as well. Yeah, my gun is pretty freaking good. And we move on to a Cloran. I think my Cloran is also one of the better builds I have. I'm using her Absolution. I got this weapon the same day. My artifacts, I'm using Thundering Fury. I do not take Whimsy as her best in slot because, my goodness, recently multi-wave combat has been so recent, and that's usually where Thundering Fury comes in. Usually Cloran kills the enemy faster and you don't have the cooldown lineup, and that's where Thundering Fury came in. And the extra electro damage percent and some like 20% aggravate is pretty good. And I think my Cloran is like top 7% on Akasha right now. So yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. I want to say it's pretty good, but like doesn't really have any good stats other than crit rate. Pretty good onset Goblet. That's where I use an offset flower, I believe, or an offset Sans, because the offset Sans is ridiculous. You have so much ER. I think this is like overwhelming because I usually run Cloran on Fischl, and that's usually where her burst is always ready because Fischl's crazy particle generation. This is single-handedly the best artifact I have in this entire account. In terms of like crit value and stuff like that, this is ridiculous. This is 48 or 49 crit value. With some EM, this is ridiculous. And I do have a pretty good flower. She's C0, and I do crown her skill. And this is my stats. She gained 20% extra from her passive. And yeah, that's that. Pretty good Cloran. My Raiden is also top 7%. She's running the Skyward Spine. I am building a DPS Raiden. I don't build Hyper Bloom because that is on Kuki, which we'll talk about later. But like, it's on my Shinobu. But she's using Skyward Spine. It's a pretty good 5-star. Obviously, Homa is better, or Cash is obviously better. But I have it on somewhere else, so I don't really have anyone to use it on. So it's really just only freaking Raiden. The stats is okay. It gives a high base attack, so that usually is pretty good with Bennett. A little bit energy recharge because you know Raiden likes energy recharge, and some crit rate and some normal attack so I can actually execute the 3N3C combo faster. So yeah, and she's using Emblem right now. I think my Emblem's really good. This was freaking ridiculous. So much attack, it's a little bit of ER and pretty good crit damage. I think this is like one of the best circlets I have for emblem. An okay goblet. Some crit rate, crit damage, and a little bit of attack. I'm using attack stance. Now, I know a lot of people don't really use attack stance. So yeah, and she also already have enough ER. Usually I do run her on like Raiden National. Usually that's the team I use, and or Raiden Hyper, and that's probably already have enough ER. So that's where I actually use like attack stance is better. And this is probably my second best feather I have in the entire game right now. I think, I'm not sure. It has crit damage, energy, every single stat is amazing. And this is my worst piece, unfortunately. It does have some ER, which is pretty good. A little bit of crit rate, but yeah, that's that. My run C0, and I actually, I do want to crown this, but the monumental of actually getting this and getting this is ridiculous, so that's why actually I'm not doing it. But I do crown her first. That is my stats. This is a top 7% Raiden. I do have Wish a little bit more ER, but like I think her ER requirement is already good enough. So my Kaching, I think she's one of the very few standard characters that I built. She's obviously aggravate. I do run her on Lion's Roar, but sometimes I do actually run her on Harbinger of Dawn because that's actually really good. A really good weapon on her, just so many stats, but she does need to be like above 90%. But so that's really hard to do. But Lion's Roar is just a way better option. I do have another set of Thundering Fury on her. Unfortunately, most of it is borrowed by Cloran. It's still pretty good. I do have a pretty good feather, a really good circlet. Not circlet, a flower. My circle's okay as well. She also recently got a pretty good goblet from Obsidian and an okay circlet. Actually, no, it's pretty good circlet. And she's Constellation 3. And I do have her at... I do actually crown her. I do not crown her burst. I do want to crown her burst, but the reason Cloran basically took her job, so I don't really want to play Kaching that much anymore. Yeah, it is my stats. She does gain 15% crit rate, so it's a pretty good Kaching. Unfortunately, she's just not that good of a character right now. My Alhaitham, it's okay, I guess. He's running the event weapon because usually you do like fight single target enemies because his best team is like Hyper Bloom or like Spread, I guess. I don't know. Hyper Bloom is just way better. So yeah, single target, this thing just deals extra 32% damage, and it's really good. Although sometimes I am changing him on like a Mist-Splitter if my Alhaitham doesn't deal enough damage. So yeah, but usually my baseline is the Umbrella. I do have him on Gilded, but my Gilded on him is like really mid. So it is pretty good. This is pretty good. I do also recently got this, but everything else is just mid. Like look at this is ass. This is okay. This is good, but like it is the only like good one. This one's really, it is also like mid. So it's like yeah, my Alhaitham isn't really that good. He's C0, and I do crown his skill. This is my overall stats. It's better, but it's not that much better. And also since Alhaitham does gain from Dendro damage bonus, this stat doesn't look that great. Now my Nahida, actually I'm using a semi DPS Nahida, so you can actually use it on both Nilo Bloom if you want to, or like a Quicken team where I actually use her. So using Kagura's Verity for the most damage, and this is her set, obviously Deepwood. My Deepwood's pretty good. This is my flower. My feather's okay. My Sands is mid, I guess. I'm using Elements of Mastery on both the Sands and the Goblet. Although I am using a crit damage circlet on her since she gains a crit rate from her elements based on her Elements Mastery on her passive. That's why I use crit damage on her. And I do also have some EM, what's it called? EM Goblet here. So yeah, she's C0, and I do actually crown her burst. Not her burst, her skill, and then level 8 her burst. My stats. Yeah, a lot of crit damage, and also some crit rates. It's probably like above 60, so that's already good enough. Some ER as well. So my Nahida is really mid. It's not really that great, but obviously I could have done better if I farmed Deepwood. But what she really is just like a Deepwood holder. Her damage doesn't really matter. She's just an application and a Dendro Rest Shred. Now my Moalani is actually an init is very interesting. I do have her on her signature, and I do have Obsidian Codex on her. The artifacts is okay. It took me a while to actually get a good Obsidian. This is a really good feather, also although too much crit rate for my liking. I actually also have a really really freaking mid flower. I do have an HP stance on her, although it's also really mid. It's not that great. Her goblet is good because it's really only crit damage that she needs. Now, her stance I'm using EM. The reason why I'm using EM because Surf's Up just gives so much crit damage, and I do actually a little bit of testing on my own, and EM is already better than my previous crit damage circlet, which I think is on Mawika right now. So yeah, she's obviously Z0, and I do crown her scale, and then I use her, and I ate her ult. I usually don't really use her ult though, because the animation is really long. And now we have Nuvelet. Now Nuvelet is my strongest character, obviously because he's just really strong. However, he's one of the worst builds I have. I do have his signature, so I get really lucky. So after I lose on Vortex, I actually got his signature. That just makes him ridiculous. His circle is good. I think it's pretty good. It's great. I do wish HP is probably a little bit better. That's why I actually put the filter on HP, but I still haven't really found it. My goblet is on set, but oh my god, it's vile. I did a cope set. This one here is probably my best piece. It's an off piece. The reason why I actually go for an off piece, for an onset goblet, so I can actually use this offset circlet, not circlet, sense. Why am I stuttering so much, man? And I do have a okay feather. I wish I do have a better stat, and a pretty okay flower. He's C0 obviously, and I do actually crown his normals. And this is his stats. 305 is probably too much. I do wish I have a little bit more HP, although usually with Hydro Resonance, which where I actually play him with Frina usually, that's where I actually just use Crit Damage Circle because I already have enough. Now my Yelan here is okay, I guess also. She's using a Faf Warbow. It's probably her best in slot, I guess, besides Elegy. I'm running her on 4-piece emblem. A good feather, pretty good circlet because you usually want a lot of ER in Yelan. An okay circlet, I wish it has some ER. Really bad onset, however that makes up it for the great sense. She's C0 and I'm crowning her burst. And these are her stats. It's pretty okay. I do wish I had more crit rate, but what she is basically just a second Xingqiu. So yeah, that's that. And now we move on to the pyro character. So my Mawika is actually pretty good. She doesn't have a lot of attack here recently, and I'll explain why. So she has a Verdict right now, which is pretty good on her. It's one of her better 5-star stat stick. I just slapped this on because I have a second Verdict. I don't really have like a good 4-star also for her. Like the only one that's really close is just probably Serpent Spine, but I mean Serpent Spine probably is better than Verdict, but I don't really want to sit there and wait for 30 seconds to get all of the stacks. It's painful. I'm using Obsidian Codex on her. She's using a really crit damage circlet. All very decent for an offset goblet. For an onset goblet is okay. I do have a really I have an absolutely vile, absolutely awful feather. I have an okay circlet, and I am running her on an Elemental Mastery Sense. Why? Because she usually plays with Bennett, and Bennett gives you a lot of attack, and you want some external EM, right? Because you usually like melt her first hit after going down. It's like usually just want that, and that's where an EM sense actually coming along. So yeah, she melts / faves a lot of her hits, and her pretty much the most important is her first initial hit on her burst. She's Constellation 0, and I both crown her scale and her burst. After you use her burst, the scalings are actually coming from here, and obviously her burst first. But yeah, that's that. Here's my stats. Pretty good. She gained 40% of basic, 90%, 22%, 200 crit damage here, and some ER. I don't know why I have ER on her, but yeah, that's that. Now my Arlecchino is one of the better builds I have because I'm actually using an old artifact set. This is Staff of Homa. Again, I changed it because who does this basically over Solokino. Now I don't have her Whimsy. I do wish I have Whimsy, but Glad is already like good enough. So like if my Whimsy is just really bad. I don't really like Whimsy at all. And fighting those 3 golems at Whimsy is so painful. That's why I just opted for a Glad. And my Glad's pretty good. Look at that. I have some crit rate here. Pretty good, sir. Why do I always say like random artifacts that actually is not what the artifact is? So pretty good Feather. I have an EM Sans running on her because usually she runs with Bennett. So that's why I go for an EM Sans. And this is probably the best Sans I have. It's actually on an EM. So 16 crit rate and 14 crit damage. I do run on Onset Goblet so that I have a pretty good crit rate offset circlet. She's 0 obviously, and I crown her normal. So I don't really bother going above 6 because this doesn't really help at all. And this is her stats. It's pretty good. And now we move on to Hu Tao. My Hu Tao is pretty good. I also got her recent skin because I love Hu Tao. You're probably wondering why her EM is so low, because I'm actually using an EM weapon on her. So yeah, because you 3 different elemental type, you got basically a free 120 EM. She's using Crimson Witch. Usually I do run her with Farina, so that's usually probably Marchese is better on her, but you know but I just really hate farming Marchese. So I got a pretty good Pyro Onset Goblet. It's probably one of the better onset I have. I do have a really bad crit damage circlet. It doesn't have crit rate, but it does give some HP EM. That's good. My Flower is okay as well. I have some EM. And my Feather is pretty good. Now I am running an HP Flower on her. Usually I do run on the EM one. But since right now I do have a lot of EM from buffs from basically just getting EM on my artifact and some EM from my weapons, I think an HP is already better. So yeah, she's Constellation 0 obviously, and I do crown her normals. I didn't crown any of these, and I don't really plan to. So yeah, that's that, and this is my stats. Pretty bad crit rate. It's just on the verge of getting lower. Usually I want 70%, but usually I do play her with champion, so her crit rate is mitigated by a little bit. Some extra crit damage obviously, and some ER. My Diluc is actually built. He has the World's Gravestone, he has 2-piece, and these are my stats. Pretty good Flower, pretty okay Feather, pretty good Sans, pretty good Goblet, and pretty good crit rate. He is Constellation 2 because he's a standard, and I do actually upgrade his normals because I was actually trying Diluc Plunge, and this is my stats. So it's a pretty good Diluc, but like, yeah, that's that. Now my Shinobu, yes, she is a semi-healer and also an EM Shinobu. She's using Iron Sting. Refinement rank 2 because back then I decided I have this little like epiphany where I actually kind of just want to actually have an I'll hate them to use Iron Sting, but then I realized that he's usually single targeted, so I just used Tokabu instead. She's using the Flower. I actually don't really use Gilded on her because back then I was farming this and I got really lucky, so I got like EM on everything here. And especially like this one's ridiculous for some reason, but yeah, every single one is just cope. She is C2, which is the only constellation that matters, and yeah, I don't really plan on crowning her skill, nor I do plan on upgrading any of these because all she is just a Hyper Bloomer, and I do 90 her. My Fischl's pretty good actually. So my Fischl is she's using Scoured Harp because that's the only weapon that she really needs. She's using Golden Troop. My Golden Troop is actually really lucky, so I got probably one of the better onset I have as onset Goblet. This is pretty good as well. Some ER, some crit damage, and some EM. This is pretty good. This is the offset that I choose. Although I do probably have a better offset, but this is the only one that she uses. Pretty good Feather. Actually, it's kind of mid, but it's pretty good as well. And a really good Sans. She's Constellation 6, which makes me really happy. And she is, I crown her Os. the crown As, and this is her stats. So like really good official. My Singchu is basic Singchu. I don't really want to talk about the builds because I don't really want to talk about these 3 builds, but let's just skim over it as well. So like Sacrificial Sword, because I usually do run him on Fav or like a more damaging weapon if I have running like triple Hydro. But yeah, that's that. He actually got an emblem right now. My emblem is okay. They're nothing special, I guess. He is C6, and I do crown his burst. So yeah, a really mid Singchu, but it's all I need. And my Bennett, he's using a high base attack weapon. He's using 4 piece noblesse. Pretty good artifacts, I guess, for Bennett. Not really. So yeah, he's going back to his normal routes of being a healer. He's C6. I kind of regret getting C6 because I kind of want to use my Ayaka with Bennett. But yeah, it is what it is. And he actually has his burst crown. And yeah, so enough ER for his burst off cooldown and some damage, I guess, I don't know. So yeah, and this is my Xiangling. My Xiangling's good, I guess. I don't think her builds changed, so she's using the catch. And she is using Emblem right now. Pretty good off-field Goblet. And pretty bad Circlet. Pretty ridiculous Flower, but she just needs like what? Freaking ER, right? And this is her attack feather. What is not attack? It's a pretty mid feather, and this is her ER. Yeah, I'm using an ER stance because even with I'll show her ER later. So like you have her C6, and I do crown her burst. Even with 260 ER, she's still really struggling. And the crit rate may look low, but remember I'm using the catch, so she actually got extra 12%. So that's probably 70%, 68%, I believe. 67, I think. So yeah. And now that's the last level 90 character I have. So from going onwards, it's all just level 80 characters and some even level 70. Actually, why did I even... I forgot to start Citlali. Jesus Christ, I'm dumb. Let's briefly talk about Citlali. She has triple EM, I believe. She's using TTDS because that's the only weapon that you really need on her. Now TTDS usually on Kokomi is very painful, but on Citlali you don't really care. It's really easy to play TTDS on her, and she's using the Cinder City set. I am planning to change Shilonen on Arcade Petra, but right now the only one that I really have right now is just Cinder City. So yeah, I'm trying my best to get as much EM and ER as possible, and this is probably a really freaking good feather. I don't think I'll ever change this feather because the freaking subset gives 100 ER. I could have gone more, but you know, unlucky got 2 HP once, and this is triple EM. Just some ER as well, trying to get some ER because her ER requirements is ridiculous. She is a Constellation 0, and I do crown her skill to get more beefy shield and a little bit of her burst as well for damage. My stats, I do wish getting more ER. Sometimes I do actually change if I'm on my Arlecchino team, I usually do change it on an ER stance, but yeah, that's about it. Alright, so let's move on to the next one. Why do I forgot to start Citlali? Now my Chiori is level 80. I don't really have any reason for it to go level 90. I do like her character enough that I may actually go level 90 her, but yeah, she's just there. I do use Cinnabar Spindle on her because I usually run her with Farina. Then usually Cinnabar Spindle is just way better. I do have Golden Troop on her. I don't really go for Husk because Husks are for losers. Pretty good Flower, pretty good Feather, and a pretty good defense sense, and a pretty good Geo damage bonus circle Goblet, and a pretty good crit rate circlet. So yeah, my Golden Troop's pretty good, right? I have 3 sets of those on 3 different characters, and they're all pretty good. And this is my stats. Shan Yun, I am using her on Oathsworn Eye. Usually I do go Fav if she's running solo animal. But yeah, but I think she already has enough ER because I'm using an ER sense. Yeah, so just basically attack. Doesn't really matter, I guess, because all she needs is just the baseline, the base stats. So yeah, I do crown hit. I don't know why I even crown this because she doesn't deal damage with this, but I just level 8 it as well, and I also level 8 this as well because for the healing. My stats overall, yeah, pretty good. ER and pretty good crit damage, I guess. But if I'm using FAF, it's just good enough. And then Venti, I actually did build surprisingly, even though I don't really use him. So he's using Stringless right now. Although sometimes I am using FAF on him but like since Hierophant did so much energy after using his burst, I don't think he needs that much ER. He's using 4Ps, and I'm actually using a DPS build on him. But I don't really have attack on this one. I'm just using EM. So like yeah, my Venti's build is a little bit all over the place. Pretty good, but it's all over the place, and I have him C0. I do not crown, and I don't really have any reason for him to go to level 90. But this is my stats here. So 55, 81, and some ER as well. So it's pretty good. My Jin is surprisingly built. She's using the Favonius sword. Although sometimes I do actually go and use Coward Blade on her because she has so much ER. But the thing here about her is that like even when regenerate 20%, even though like Dandelion Breeze like generates like a little bit of ER for her, she still is very much ER hungry. So that's why I actually just use Favonius on her. She's using the 4-piece Viridescent as always, and she's using pretty much like a semi-healer, semi-damaging one, I guess. Yeah, so it's all just substantial artifacts enough. Now, I want to talk about Jin is because of this. I have her at C6. She is the only C6 character I have in the entire account. I lost so much 50-50 on her, and she is the only C6 5-star character I have in this entire account. How? I'm not sure how as well, but it is what it is. I'm proud to be a C6 Jin haver. I guess Tuanto will be proud as well. Now, Shenhe is my recent 5-star. She is using the Favonius Lance, and I'm using her on a Noble Oblige. Her stats are okay. I do wish it got better. I got a ridiculous feather right now for some reason. And I do have like attack Sansa, basically all triple attack with just some ER. I do wish I have more ER in here, but like she has probably enough ER from the substats, like 16 there, 10, 11 there, and some 12 there, so it's pretty good. I am having her at C0, and she's 8-8 on the talents. I don't upgrade her normals at all. And yeah, there's a stat enough for faster trigger, and I guess enough for I guess it's kind of enough. I do wish it's a little more because her burst costs like freaking 80. So I wish it was enough. Sino, I did build as well. He's using the baseline free-to-play option of White Tassel, and he's using Thundering Fury. Yes, I don't use Gilded on Sino. I'm using Thundering Fury. Sue me, because Thundering Fury is the better one. So yeah, okay EM. I guess it's an okay EM Sans. Pretty good offset, although I wish this was an EM one. This one's okay, I guess. No, it's not okay. It's just a little bit of crit rate from the crit damage circlet. This one's okay. Like I have 3 different Thundering Furies and 3 different characters, and Sign was the worst one. Although this one's pretty spicy. 14% crit rate. This one EM. His Concentration 0, and he has what's it called again? He has 8 on. He has double 8 on the talents right now. And this is my overall stats. I am a little low on Elemental Mastery. I wish I do have someone, but the ER is pretty good already, and he has pretty good stats, pretty good crit value. Do I really have to talk about Yaimiko? So yeah, my Yaimiko is using the Witset. It's usually thrown around between Witset, her signature, and Scarlet Atlas. And I do not have her on her Gilded because of this character. Yeah, I just run random sets on her. I barely even use Yaimiko at all. Although some sets are questionably good for some reason, and yeah, she's C0. I do actually like double 8 on both her skill and her burst. I use my overall stats. It's a Miko build, I guess. Now my Tainari is pretty good. He's using the slingshot and he's using the Wanderer's Troop. Pretty good flower. Really good feather. This is probably the most depressing piece ever. I don't really have an EM like Wanderer, but this is the only one that I have. So I can go for a pretty good offset goblet. And yeah, my crit damage, and reason why I'm running crit damage here is because I actually have a C2 Tainari. Actually a C1 Tainari, sorry. His crit rate increased by 15%. Yeah, sorry, my talent. So I double crown, not double crown. I'm so tired. So I go for like double 8 on his normals and his burst. I don't really bother upgrading this to even 6. And it's my overall stat now 15 from his skill, from his C1, sorry. So it's already like 70, I believe, 75. So yeah, and a little bit of crit damage as well, and some ER, so it's pretty good. My Aito I actually built pretty recently as well, because I actually enjoyed playing him. Using the Black Sword, I guess it's probably one of his best 4-star, and using the 4-piece Glad, I don't really have like a Heart of Death. And I'm in Asia server, however, in my area, usually the ping problem is there, so I don't really use echoes on him. So yeah, I use a Glad for him. So yeah, pretty good Sans. This is sad because he usually doesn't play Vape. Sometimes I do, but the EM is wasted here on the Goblet. This one's okay as well. I go for an off piece. I'm using crit rate right now because he has some crit damage. And a pretty okay Flower and a pretty okay Feather. I am C0 and I double 8 his burst and his skill. So yeah, pretty okay I guess. And now we move on to Kokomi. Now my Kokomi, I'm using Sacrificial Fragment because I don't like Drilling Tails on her. Usually the jellyfish doesn't move around a lot, so that's where I actually use Sacrificial Fragment. And I'm using Tenacity because Tenacity is just basically the better option. I know a lot of people that actually use Tenacity, but Tenacity is just so much better than Ocean Hued because the 20% attack is actually much appreciated. Yeah, but like these are just my artifacts, just gonna skim through them. You can just pause if you want them, but you know, Kokomi artifact doesn't really matter. For some reason, I crown her normals thinking that it's important. I don't know why, and I even crown like her burst. Not even crown, like I ate her normals, I ate everything here for some reason. But yeah, so many materials wasted, and these are my stats. And I guess we're almost done here. Let's go to Child. Now my Child is using Viridescent Hunt. Usually I do run on Scout Harp, but Viridescent Hunt just gives so much better grouping, and that's why I actually use Viridescent Hunt. I'm using Heart of Depth right now. He does have pretty bad, or I guess pretty, I don't know, I don't remember what I put on him. He's right now has a pretty okay circlet. He has some attack, I guess that's nice. This is really good, I believe. I got this on a strong box. It's pretty good. This is pretty mid, I'd say. It's just one roll on each, and this is pretty good. However, it doesn't have crit damage, and this one's also pretty good. It has a ton of crit for some reason, and that's why I'm actually running a crit damage circlet. He's C1. He's the only limited 5-star character I have C1, and he is double 8 on both his skill and his burst. There's my stats here. Pretty good crit rate and a pretty good crit damage. A lot of people actually complain about Child getting critless because he doesn't ascend a crit. But I'm using a crit damage circlet right now because I have so much crit rate on his pieces. Let's move on to the level 70 characters. So my Lynette is actually built, but I don't really use her. I just use her in the Abyss when I want to have fun, like a Taser Lynette. So yeah, she's using Scoured Blade because of a high base attack weapon and some ER, and she's using Viridescent. Because you know, Viridescent is just a broken set, and these are my stats. Pretty okay, pretty okay circlet, some ER, some crit damage, pretty okay Goblet, I guess. No, it's actually a pretty good Goblet. I don't know why I actually have this on Lynette. I could probably just switch it up to Xiao. Pretty good attack Sans, pretty bad Feather, and ridiculously good, like unreasonably good Flower. So yeah, my Lynette is pretty okay, I guess. Pretty eh. I do have her at C6 right now, and I did like all of them. I put them at level 6. Although I do kind of want to level her to 80, but like I don't really use Lynette. As you guys can see, it's Friendship 0. My Farazan, I really only built because of Abyss. I really use her in Overworld. She's using Favonius Warbow, and she's using Tenacity of the Middle Left because she's C6. Now, a lot of people don't really know this, but at C6, she's usually just go for Tenacity, and that's where I actually come in. Now, I don't know why my some pieces are not leveled. Like, as you guys can see, I don't even level this one at all because I was too bored. I should probably just change it back to this one, I guess. But yeah, This is her piece, a pretty good flower because a ton of ER and a pretty good feather for her. This is for her, alright? Some crit rate, some ER for Fav. She's running an offset ER because I don't really have ER on here. She does have animal damage bonus because I don't know why I run animal damage bonus on her because of probably her little off-field capabilities, and she's using crit rate here. So yeah, she's C6, very dependent on C6. This character is one of the very dependent characters that uses C6. Like the difference between like a C6 Farson and a C5 Farson is like monumental. And I do like double 6 the towns. Those are my stats. So yeah, good enough for Fav, and yeah, ridiculous amount of ER for some reason. And finally we go to Yao Yao, Kale, and I guess that's it. I don't really have any characters that I actually built. So yeah, I am running her on Favonius Lands, I'm running her on Deepwood. Usually I just run her on Deepwood because I don't really want to run her Instructor. I do have an Instructor build ready for her, however, it's kind of tedious to just change the artifact once in a while. And these are my stats, it's pretty good. I do have her C3. Yao Yao thankfully doesn't really have good constellation other than her C1. Even her C1's like really bad. So yeah, I do like double 6 her talents and my stats. Just good enough for Fav to trigger and a lot of ER for her to use her burst and cooldown. And finally we get to the... Oh wait, did I even build Kale? I did, I just don't put her on the right artifact, but on the right weapon. But yeah, I do run her. I don't really use her, but I do like her. Usually on Nilubloom I usually use her. But yeah, she's using a Favonius Warbow and this all of her artifacts. It's pretty good, a lot of attack, but they're all just really mid. Some ER as well here, some damage bonus and some crit rate here because she's an off-fielder. She is Constellation 6, however, besides from her C2, I don't think any of her constellations are like really worth it. Her C6 are like as well. And I do like I think I leave this at level 4, I believe, and I put this at 6. And yeah, and these are her stats. So pretty mid Kale. And I guess that's about it for the character builds. Now let's get into the conclusion of this video. Do I still enjoy playing Genshin after 1,500 days straight? The answer is yes, I am. And I am looking forward to a lot of things in Genshin. Everything just even though I do think that the quality of life that they offer isn't even better than Wuwa, Honkai Star Rail, or even Zenless Zone Zero, I do think that Genshin is probably the only game that I've ever played that actually made me attached to the game. Honkai Star Rail, I am on a big hiatus. Wuthering Waves, I actually want to return one day, but I'm still also not sure about that. And Zenless, I drop immediately. Any Hoyoverse or any games that I've ever played, gacha games especially, doesn't really have the same charm I had with Genshin. This game is probably, I don't know when I will stop playing the game, when I actually found like another pretty good contender for Genshin. But Genshin is probably will still be my main game right now that I will ever play. And I bet your ass that I will probably still make fan-made lyric videos or music videos with Genshin. I'd say it's a really big account. I've talked to the journeys, I've talked to the exploration, the quests, and every single characters that I built. So yeah, so that's about it with Genshin. The 1,500 days straight playing Genshin. So if you like this kind of content, please leave a like, I guess, and subscribe if you want to see more like this. And I guess I don't really have anything to say, so I'm just gonna yell.